But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, let me start Kick. I didn't start Kick. Tonight, we're going to get weird. Look, it's usually what we do because, of course, there's so many ways to look at the world we live in. And, look, we've done the gamut. We've done it all. We've done the materialist aspect of this. We've done sort of the religious fundamental way to look at it. We've done the old Tibetan bardos. We've done reincarnation, near-death experiences, aliens. Look, you name it. You name it, and we've done it on this show. We've talked about all manner of wild ideas from all different angles, and that's the point. The point isn't to build in some new religious dogma cycle, as I like to say. The point instead is to look at things differently, to consider what we know versus what we don't know, and take it to that bleeding edge of humanity, of what humans really are and what it means to be human. That's the point. That's the entire point of these conversations. That was the dream from the beginning, to talk to amazing people about these amazing ideas, and the dream has been achieved. We've got a fantastic group here that's always interested in the weird stuff that I come up with, and I'm sorry it's off the beaten path so often and so many times, but that's really what is interesting to me. And clearly and obviously there's some other interest out there, and I'm grateful for it. So thanks for being here as part of it. Tonight I'm calling this an uncontaminated witness. The children NDE research left behind. Now, NDE, of course, is that near-death experience. Very simple. It doesn't have to be any more ridiculous than that. We all know what that is. We all know how it sort of fits into the trope of the light. Carol Ann, stay away from the light, if you remember the old Poltergeist. We've talked about this ad nauseum in the past. And even with Dr. Courtney Brown of farsight.org, the Farsight Institute, he was describing it as the Isbies and a soul trap, and that it's not necessarily a good thing that this light is sort of presented as this place we're supposed to move into when we cross over, whatever that looks like and whatever you believe. Now, before I get into this, I just want to make sure and clarify there's no truth to be found here. This is just ideas. This is just people talking and considering things that haven't been really considered yet. That's it. I like to kind of take the tip of the spear here when it comes to novel stuff. And this in particular tonight is really the tip of the spear when it comes to this type of science, because they're still doing science on reincarnation, near-death experience, all this stuff, which is incredible to me. And many of us have heard of Dr. Ian Stevenson. I've talked about him in the past, sort of the reincarnation cycles of children, how they come back and they remember sort of a past life, as a World War II pilot, or they even have scars and not scars, but like moles or birthmarks on parts of their body where they supposedly were, shot or something, and in a previous war, in a actual memory that they brought back to this life. Now, you don't have to believe in any of that stuff. That's the point, is to consider it and consider what we know about it, and then I don't know, kind of just change your mind or not. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm not here to change anybody's mind about anything. But here's the deal, right? It starts with this, and all these links are in the description, so I do encourage you to read up on this stuff and follow up. The study itself is here, which I'll read you the study. The study is this: Psychology of Consciousness, Theory, Research, and Practice, and its Children's Near-Death Experiences, a narrative review and future directions for investigating near-death experiences with children. Now, why children? Children are an interesting case because we've talked about them not just in the space of these, the Dr. Ian Stevenson bit where they come back and remember these past lives, this reincarnation aspect, okay? And like I said, some people believe it, some people don't. I don't care. Really, honestly, I don't care. But it's highly fascinating when you look at the data and how this kind of comes back. But children in particular, they seem to end up at some point kind of forgetting these things, or some of these ideas sort of flow and fade away as they move into their new life, right? And so, this life, the life they're living. And so my point is that children are an interesting case here because they're sort of a clean slate, fresh from the ideological twists and turns of the modern human experience, including, of course, those dogma cycles. But back to this now. So this is the article. Scientists think children may hold the key to understanding death. And this is an AOL rip from Popular Mechanics. Very good stuff. I'll just read you some of this. Or no, which part should I do? Should I do the thing? Okay, let me do the other thing. Read the Substack. Go check it out. Troubled Minds newsletter, troubledminds.org on the very top. Click newsletter. Yeah, I know my camera's flashing. You see that? I don't know what happened. Like something happened before we started. My keyboard died. I had to swap it real quick. This thing's flashing. Like, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, there's always something breaking here. Okay, I'll just read straight from the thing because this is probably the best way to do it. It's the most, it's just the best. Here we go. So there's a problem at the heart of near-death research that almost no one has named directly. When a person survives a cardiac arrest and reports what happened on the other side, their account arrives already edited. Decades of religious instruction, cultural mythology, Hollywood imagery, and ambient folklore have preloaded the witness with a vocabulary for exactly this kind of experience. The tunnel has been described to them before they ever enter it. Of course, that would be the light. The light has been painted in 10,000 churches and projected across 10,000 screens. The life review is a trope so familiar it has its own narrative grammar, its own expected emotional beats, its own assumed moral architecture, and by the time a researcher sits down with the adult survivor, clipboard in hand and recorder running, they are not receiving raw signal. They are receiving signal that has passed through a lifetime of interpretive filters. And neither the researcher nor the subject can say with any certainty when the experience ends and the interpretation begins. And that's really the point of this, because we'll get to children in a second, this study. It's highly fascinating. And what would you expect from this? What would you expect from a child having a near-death experience and what they would tell us when they sort of came back to the space of really that clean slate aspect of just the innocence of being a child? You know, a lot of cross your fingers, nothing horrific's happened to the child at this point. They don't have the baggage, the trauma, and the drama of just everyday human life. They're very different and they're very innocent, and it is the best of things. And I wish I could be 10 years old again. It was an incredible moment in my life because I luckily didn't have a ton of baggage or trauma or drama or anything else. And it's just I don't have to tell you how great being a child is. But anyway, so for some are not as lucky. But anyway, so this in particular is not a criticism of NDE research in its entirety. It's simply the epistemological condition researchers have always worked within. And the best of them have known it. And Kenneth Ring, Bruce Grayson, a couple names, Pim Van Lommel, all the links are in the description if you want to read up on these individuals. They knew this stuff. Pim Van Lommel built an entire cardiac study around trying to control for it, this near-death experience. But what none of them did with remarkable consistency is look for a population that might offer something fundamentally different. Not a cleaner methodology applied to the same witnesses, but a different category of witness altogether. And that's the point tonight, because this study actually looks at children and the near-death experience. And the study is here, like I said, and I do encourage you to read this stuff in full. But that's what's on my mind tonight. Now, what would you expect from this? Sort of removed from the baggage of adulthood, the baggage and just the difficulty of life itself. And what would you expect a child to bring back? Yeah, it's laid out very well here. And yeah, that's what's on my mind tonight. And why do you think that is? Because clearly, if you think of it in these terms, that there is some actual basis for what comes back versus a child and an adult. And it's the similar stuff seems to track. It seems to go, okay, well, it means there's something here, something with consciousness, right? Correlation, causation, I know, I understand. I fully get it. This is not science, okay? We're taking a leap and considering why this is. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this as we go. We are taking your calls if you want to be part of the conversation. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. But for right now, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, that will be the Stoic Mindset. Be right back. More Troubled Minds in exactly 1 minute. We got James coming up and your calls as well. What do you know about this? An uncontaminated witness. Yeah, be right back. Catch you in just 1 minute. Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so that's where we start. Now, there's a lot here, and let me read you just the blurred part about this study, because this is where this starts to get remarkable. As you would expect, there are some parallels when you talk about near-death experiences in children and, of course, adults. But wouldn't the parallels themselves be the most interesting part of this? And let me read it. So a new literature review published in Psychology of Consciousness, which I just showed you, Theory, Research, and Practice, has done something now that seems almost embarrassingly obvious in retrospect. It looked at 40 years of near-death experience research and asked the question so simple it borders on accusation. How many studies actually included children? Yeah. Well, the answer is 8. 40 years of studies, and they did 8 children. Out of the entire body of peer-reviewed literature spanning 1983 to 2020, only 8 studies directly involved child subjects. The researchers, led by Donna Thomas of the University of Lancashire and Graham O'Connor of Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital in London, call this a scandal of omission. And the word scandal is not a rhetorical decoration here. It is a precise description of what happens when an entire field overlooks its most valuable data set for 4 decades running. Children have been left in their phrase in the footnotes of the field, not because anyone argued they were irrelevant, but because no one thought to argue they were essential. And we'll get to the structural features of this as we go and talk about the light, that near-death experience, the tunnel effect, and of course, these other religious dogmas that people tend to see. These, you name it, you name it. I'm not going to, again, pick on anybody, any groups of people. I just hate doing that. I think it's, I don't know, it's lowbrow, and I apologize when it does leak out of me. I try to be as neutral as possible, but I am a human after all. So what are your thoughts here? How weird does this get? And do you think that there is maybe something children have, more of that signal to noise ratio coming from them when they bring back a near-death experience? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Thanks for being patient, my man. James in Michigan, Salcedo Paranormal. How are you? Great job over there with Ricky and Ray K and company. And welcome to Troubled Minds. What's on your mind, my man?
I'm okay. Glad to be here. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you. You sound great.
Good. Yeah. This is I didn't get to, obviously I was a bit busy at the time, but didn't get to read the write-up. But this is fascinating to me because a big part of what is called the paranormal, again, not everyone has to believe in that or not, but reports of activity and experiences. I can't tell you how many posts I find from people that say, this happened to me when I was a kid. I saw this apparition or this orb or this shadow or whatever when I was, 5 years old, 10 years old, sometimes 15 years old. But the younger it is, it seems like the more common it is for kids to have these anomalous experiences. And now this is fascinating because I have never heard of anything regarding children and near-death experiences, but because of everything else I just mentioned there, it kind of makes sense because of that. They have not had any large amounts of information or ideas or, again, dogmas or any systems really sort of driven into their mind yet. And so that makes this whole thing fascinating to me, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about that.
Yeah, and the more I'm digging into this, the more, as you know, these things tend to get weird, or else I wouldn't be talking about them. But it is like I said, it's one of the most grotesque oversights, because we've talked about this in the past, sort of that the indigo child, and how children are really tuned into having that BS meter. And they know, I mean, adults look after them, and they have to have some level of trust there. But, your BS meter is just so finely tuned when you're a kid. You just absolutely know when somebody's full of crap. And, when the world doesn't make sense. And then, we spend a lifetime indoctrinating that, oh, well, the world makes sense, and the things are the way they're supposed to be, because, there are good reasons for all these rules and all these aspects of the way life is, modern life is. But I mean, let's be real. Let's bring out cynical Mike and say, no, that's nonsense. These are a bunch of rules written for the rulers, as they've always been. And it seems backwards and upside down, because largely it is. And so throw that aside. You don't have to tackle that at all. But certainly children have that just something magical about them when it comes to these things. And they notice everything, like all the politeness and stuff that we've sort of beat them into, the submission of being polite is something that they don't have yet. And they recognize every little detail that we tend to overlook and forget because it would be rude to notice, right? So, like I said, you don't have to touch that at all, but it's absolutely wild to consider that a near-death experience from a child in this case is more signal than noise. And that makes a ton of sense to me.
It does. And there's so many accounts of children seeing anomalous things and going to their adults around them, their parents or loved ones that they're with, and because of, again, these dogmas and systems and everything, the adults write off the experience, because their thought is, oh, that can't be real, so the child must be imagining things or exaggerating things. And it's just something that I've heard and read about over and over again. So it's really fascinating here. I'm glad to see this, that, hopefully more of this will be studied over time, because I think it is important. Because, again, as I always say with these things, I'm not interested in the labels that people put on what they experience, what they see or hear, as far as what they're dealing with. I'm interested in the experience itself and the descriptions of the experience or of what they see or hear. Because to me, that's far more interesting, because we all have biases and systems that we've been exposed to and just brought up on. And so even without trying to push something intentionally, we're going to have these ideas that are in us no matter what, and we're going to describe things in certain ways.
Yeah, exactly. And we do it a lot too here, because we like I said, we explore those old Bardo states, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, like these old ideas intentionally, the Joseph Campbell Hero's Journey stuff. And, in that Joseph Campbell show we did, he discussed properly, directly, that these stories are really made for us to recognize the cycles we live in. And then when it's winding up, finishing, and we're going to pass, to help us find ways to do these things, right? Because of the old stories. So he said it directly. And so some of that stuff, of course, is very good, but also you see when there's a study about children, how they really haven't been, dare I say it, indoctrinated into the larger mythos of humanity. They seem to be more tuned in. And like I said earlier, that doesn't surprise me one single bit.
No, me either. I just look forward to more of those kinds of studies, and maybe more in general. I mean, hopefully more openness, more just listening to children about their experience when they talk about any experience they have, and not automatically dismissing it because it doesn't fit what we think the experiences should be. And I'm not just talking about paranormal. I'm just talking in general, and try to be keep kindness and compassion in your mind at all times when dealing with children. That should really be with anybody, but especially children as well.
Yeah, 100%. And so from that paranormal aspect, now I know you've talked about this a lot. You and I have talked about this a lot. We have sort of over the years, not just here, but also on your show, Salcedo Paranormal, of course. But what would be the tropes that you would expect from the near-death experience? Of course, there's the light. There's maybe you see ancestors. What are some of the things that really kind of fit into the space of the NDE from a more generic perspective? If you got any on that, I'd love to hear them, because I think I think we could probably just sort of putting our heads together here, probably come up with most of them, just kind of taking shots in the dark. I don't know. What do you think? What have you heard regarding this? And beyond the light, we'll start there. What else is there that you hear when it comes to near-death experience stuff?
The light is a huge part of everything, whether it's a solid sort of going into a field of light or there just being lights around the person that has the experience, whether it's near-death or otherwise. Just light in general seems to be a common anomalous aspect of anomalous phenomenon. And so, yeah, I would think light. I would think maybe some kind of presence or multiple presences that are calming, that are reassuring, that are make the person, make the child or the adult, but the child feel better, feel okay, or feel safe. All those kinds of things I think I would think they'd be pretty common there. This is one area, it's funny that I haven't looked into this a ton yet. I've mainly heard about it through others and their own research and even through friends of the show here and your show doing this over the years. So, but yeah, I would think the light would be a big part of it, as it seems to be with all anomalous things.
Yeah, 100%. And the other stuff that comes to mind is that a presence, like you said, a presence or multiple presences as part of that in near-death experience, the light aspect to it. And we've talked about that. That's a psychopomp, right? That's one of those entities that helps you cross, that teaches you where to go, how you're supposed to act in the moment of passing and the rest of this, right? And every culture sort of has a different idea of it. We've talked about Karo and the Boatman. We've talked about the psychopomps of ancient Egypt and that whole bit of the duat and just the experience of everything we did whole shows on this stuff, but they definitely label these spirits as a psychopomp. There's no other. That's the most direct way to do it because that's the definition of it. It's a spirit that helps us cross from the land of the living to the land of the dead. So you certainly see these things, and these are part of those the baggage that we talk about, because we've been taught that the car on the boatman will be there for you, and when you pass, we'll put coins on your eyes so you have money to pay passage to cross the river Styx, right? This type of stuff. And then so maybe you expect to see that because it's what you expect to see, which of course is what we're talking about when it comes to the baggage and stuff. About 30 seconds left. Go ahead. What else you got?
Yeah, and in the case of near-death experiences, it seems to be, the question I have with that is, are we experiencing that psychopomp that is supposed to help you cross over, or is there another spirit or type of spirit that is there to judge or to determine if a person should or should not pass over, and then let them know or give them that choice when they're there as well? I wonder about that as well.
Well said. All that. What do you guys know about it? We're here with James Salcido tonight, of course, the glue of the show, a dear friend, the paranormal expert of troubled minds, Salcido Paranormal, SALSIDO, paranormal.com. Give him a follow in all the places. Tonight, I'm calling this an uncontaminated witness. The children NDE research left behind. Why do you think children have a more clear vision of what this actually is? And how bizarre does it get when you start to unpack the baggage of being an adult in the modern times? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Love to hear your thoughts. Be right back. More on the way. I got some startling revelations from the fabric of reality or something. Be right back. Catch you in just one moment.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Before the name, before the face, before the map of the holy place. The light was just the light. The door was just the door. I hadn't learned what it was for. Before the saint, before the flame, before they taught me what to claim. I only brought what I was made of. I only brought what couldn't lie. An uncontaminated witness to the other side.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. Thank you, James, for jumping in here. Great work over there with Ricky and company and Ray K and everybody else. What's up, Herschel? We got Joe in Florida, Dragon Rose. Great stuff over there with your narration. You have a fantastic narration voice, by the way. Like if you haven't had any critical feedback yet, you were very good. What's up, Daryl? We got Sachas here. What's up, Robert, APOC, Matsal, and Jorge? I see you guys. Hope everybody's well tonight. Over to Rumble. What's going on? We got the Puff sighting. What's going on? Who got first? What's up? Hikers first, says I'm already intrigued by the topic. Thank you for that. Ricky, thank you for the raid. Puff, Cubs Futures here. Good evening. Hello, Hiker. Yep, Mike spotted. Indeed. Yep, what is up? There's Ricky. What's up? Anything is possible. Great stuff. If you're not following Ricky, you should be in all the places. Do it. Please do it. Puff is here. Sweets, Hiker. Who did I miss? Thanks for all the great chat so far. Thanks for being nice to each other. Sweets, we got a sweet sighting. How you doing, Sweets? Good evening. YouTube. Let's go to YouTube. Who's on YouTube? Who's on first? Anybody see that meme? What's up? Thanks for sharing that meme. What's up? Dragon Rose, I see you there. We got Temple of the Owl. That's Matt's Owl. We got Unseen Steve McQueen, Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. Yeah. Hey, wild stuff. I don't know. If you had a near-death experience as a child, I'd love to hear about it tonight, because that's what we're talking about. And do you think it's different than a near-death experience of an adult? I don't know. I think clearly this study is kind of peeling back the layers on that. And, well, of course, there's no answers yet, but maybe there will be soon. There we go. Black Uni Griffin, I see you there. How you doing? Hope everybody's well. Herschel, thanks for the write-up and the summary. And here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we talk about, for 40 years, scientists have studied near-death experiences almost exclusively in adults. A new literature review just asked the obvious question everyone missed. What about the children? And of course, the answer changes everything. And why do you think that is? Like I said, all the links are in the description down below. If you want to read about the information I'm talking about and thinking about tonight, it's all there. Like I said, and no truth to be found here. As I always say, this is a conversation about ideas and possibilities. It's not about claiming the truth about anything. But I'm not totally just making stuff up either. There's a between here and there. And a lot of those links are down below, including the seed idea, which was this popular mechanics. Scientists think children may hold the key to understanding death. And it was a near-death experience study over 40 years that they recognized they left out children almost entirely. 8 children included in 40 years of this type of study, which doesn't make any sense. However, there were some striking parallels and some striking omissions of what the children saw versus what the adults saw. Why do you think that is? James, anything to add? And I'll get it back into the write-up here in a second. We are taking your calls tonight if you want to be part of the conversation. The number to call, of course, is right there, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Welcome back.
Yeah, glad to be here. And looking forward to any calls. I'm curious to hear the differences in between the children and the adult experiences there. Because I'm just really curious how they describe everything, especially without having maybe as many names for things, just describing what they experience without, again, labeling everything.
Yeah, 100%. I'll just read it straight from the thing. So we're going to get into that right now. So now this is the thing. So the structural features straight from the write-up. Again, I do encourage you to read the Substack. Go follow the Substack. Like I was saying earlier in the chat there, it's blowing up. The Substack is blowing up. It's getting like tons of interest, not just the Troubled Mind stuff, but the platform itself, which is good because we need sort of an independent space where it's kind of like the old internet. Anyway, so straight from the write-up. Go check it out, troubledminds.org. Click the newsletter on top. It'll take you there. It's free to follow. If it pops up and says pay money, just say no. I'll join for free. Do it for free. Or if you want to pay, that's cool too. So here we go. So the structural features of childhood NDEs are, in broad outline, familiar. Tunnels appear. Bright light appears. Out-of-body sensations appear. The fundamental architecture that shows up across adult accounts from every culture, every religious tradition, every geographic region on Earth shows up in children, too. And this consistency is itself remarkable evidence because it suggests that something structural is occurring at the threshold of death, something that precedes cultural encoding rather than emerging from it. The tunnel is not a Christian phenomenon or a Hindu phenomenon or a secular phenomenon. It is apparently a human phenomenon, and it shows up in minds that have barely begun to accumulate the cultural furniture that adults carry into every room they enter. And that's really where this makes the most sense to me. Because, like I said, if we have this consciousness aspect, the mysterious consciousness of being, that the materialist would say, look, it's completely self-contained. There's no woo, there's no microtubule aspect of the OR theory of quantum consciousness. It's not that. It's just we are who we are because it's like a materialist vision of us experiencing the universe and the universe kind of making us who we are as part of it, right? The push and pull of that aspect. And that's it. And we all experience these things separately and we're all different. And that's it. There's no woo or anything ridiculous to consciousness. However, some might argue the opposite, that it's everything. Consciousness is primary. We're born into it. We sort of, our brain attaches somehow, but not just our brain, sort of the larger aspect of us. And we are the universe experiencing itself through that fundamental consciousness. Like I said, I can see both sides of this. And that's why, like I said, that bicameral mind, the quadcameral mind, shout out Parker out there, that like these ideas kind of come into the space of what we're talking about because nobody really knows. People have theories, and some people are emphatically stuck in a belief that, oh, well, this is exactly why. And the thing is, like, we don't really know. And I think it's one of the things too, when we talk about cults, and, you know, we talked about this a little bit on the last show, is that it's a human aspect. We're drawn into these spaces because people tell you that they have easy answers. They'll tell you straight up, well, it's like this because of this. And they paint a compelling case for reasons why and this and that. And then you don't have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it because somebody has done it for you, right? And this is where this becomes a little bit spooky because you start handing off your cognitive authority and your discernment to somebody else, to the priest class, as it were, okay? Like I said, I'm not picking on religion or anything. I'm saying that the priest class takes all forms. The new, the priest class of the modern space, Silicon Valley, the priest class there, like there's a term, not the Chi-Coms or the globalists. It's the unelected officials. There's a term for that. Anyway, so that's where my mind is at. Look, there's a ton of stuff here, and it is strange that we still have the similar stuff, okay? Notice there was no mention of a Buddha or a Jesus or this or that or anything. There's no religious aspects. There's no actual grandma in this space, like an ancestral spirit as part of the psychopomp. But it is, as James described, there are entities. There's the feeling that something else is there, someone else, something else, many, few, whatever. Anyway, wild stuff to consider. And why do you think it is different for children? And do you think that maybe, just maybe, this will be the key to finding out what that passage actually is? Talking to children about it. And unfortunately, yes, of course, children do have near-death experiences as well. Horrific. It's just part of life. It's unfortunate, but it's true. But they seem to bring a clean signal back. Love to hear your thoughts on why that is and what we expect to find as we continue down the road of discovery with this particular science. Anything to add, James? And we'll go to Matzal in California.
Yeah, it's very fascinating because it seems almost like it's more vague. And I mean, I know that light and when adults see it and everything, and these figures are also vague, but it's even more vague again because these children don't have the different cultural or religious frameworks in their mind yet. And so I wonder if that's part of why maybe it even again, more vague, I said it twice in a row there, to them than maybe to others. And it makes me think of just consciousness and or energy or spirit or souls or whatever. If you think of them as just that, it seems like their basic form would be vague. It would just be a light. It would just be a presence that you would sense or see.
Exactly. Which in this particular case, it wouldn't have a name, right? It wouldn't really adopt the robes of dogma in any capacity, but it would still be an entity in some space, and it would still be the light, and it would still be sort of without that furniture, like I said, the furniture of the dogmas and the, kind of baked into us as we grow into adults. It's wild to consider. And I imagine too, like, think of it this way, we can add this wrinkle in because I think it's highly fascinating and it does fit. Imagine the dreams of children. Okay. So they're, clearly their lived experience is truncated for obvious reasons. They don't have the years of experience that everybody else does yet. However, the dreams of children in this particular capacity might be incredible to study as well. Maybe without sort of the weirdness of all the things we learn to believe or are indoctrinated to believe. Maybe the dreams of children are the purest sense of that primordial dream space, the dreaming, as the Aboriginals talk about. So I don't know. We can loop that in here because I think it certainly fits. And I don't know. To me, this is highly fascinating, and I'm hopeful that without doing experimentation on children, that's not what I'm suggesting. But obviously, controlled settings, treat people well, all the stuff, right? Parents, all the stuff. Okay, so don't take me wrong when I'm like, yeah, let's study the children to get the answers to the universe. That's not it. Okay, but certainly leaving them out of the studies from the data we have is a grotesque oversight, and that's what I'm talking about. Anything else on that, James? And we'll go do Matzo.
Yeah, and I think dreams, it would be a good thing to look into because of the way dreams and dreaming seems to be as we talked about before many times, a nexus point to so many other possible levels of reality, spirit, astral, just all these different things, the internal, the mind itself, all these different places that seem to be connected to just dreaming itself.
Yeah, exactly. And where, like I talk about those brackish realities, when the dream space kind of commingles with the NDE space and all manner of different things. I don't know. It's wild to consider that maybe there is overlap in some capacity here. I'm calling this an uncontaminated witness, the children NDE research left behind. And we're talking about, of course, the studies, 40 years of studies where they only included 8 children in this entire thing, which seems like I said, a grotesque oversight. So I don't know. There's similarities, but what do you know about this? And does any of this surprise you, or what do you expect to find in the future from the science? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thanks for being patient. Matthew in California. Temple of the Owl. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. Just unmute, and it's all yours. Go right ahead, sir. Test. 1, 2. Matthew in California. Just unmute. You're on the stage now, as you probably know, and just tap the little unmute, and you're good. Should be good. Test. All right. I'm going to just talk, and you cut me off whenever. Okay. So straight from the right up here. When Matzow gets in, we'll talk to him. So here's where the children diverge from the adults in ways that should stop every serious researcher cold. Straight from the right up. Read it. It's good. There are no life reviews in children's accounts. There are no messages from deceased relatives delivering cosmic instruction. There are no encounters with religious figures matching the child's tradition. The cultural and religious content that fills adult NDEs, like water filling the shape of its container, simply does not appear. What appears instead is something the researchers describe as more raw, meaning less mediated by experiential and cultural bias, less shaped by expectation, less performed. What the children are reporting, if we take their account seriously on their own terms, is the bones of the experience, the underlying structure stripped of the costume that adult minds reflexively dress it in. And that's the thing, like I said, that makes me go, what the hell is actually going on here? And I'll continue with this in a second. Matthew, are you there? Matthew in California? Test 1, 2. Oh, he's sent me a message. Sorry about that. It says something on my end. That's okay. I'll hold your place in line if you want to call the phone number instead. and we'll put you on first. You tell me, brother. You tell me how you want to do it. You're having technical issues. It does happen. Hey, it's a part of the live show experience. Technical issues happen, and that's that. So yeah, if you want to call the number, I'll beep it to you here. It is. Let's see. I think it's right here. Do I have it? Oh no, I don't have it. It is 702-857-6939. Let me click it. Yeah, I did this so I didn't even have to do anything. I got a little copy button. There you go. There's the phone number. So if you want to call that, we'll put you on the show. Yeah, it's technical problems. Okay, so back to what I was saying here, and we'll get to Matthew in a second, and then the Robert and more from James. So think about what this means for a moment, what I just described. If you wanted to design an experiment to determine whether NDEs are genuine perceptual events or confabulations assembled from cultural expectation, you would need two groups. You would need a group that has been fully saturated in the cultural narrative of what death is supposed to look like, and you would need a group that has not. You would predict that if NDEs are merely confabulation, both groups would report experiences matching their level of cultural programming. The saturated group would produce rich, detailed accounts full of religious imagery and moral narrative, and the unsaturated group would produce either nothing or something random and unstructured. But of course, that's not what the data shows. It gets a little more spooky than that, because doesn't it always? Let me know, Matthew, and we'll move on to Robert if you're just beat me the thing, or let me know you're going to call. And James, anything on that? Like, does that surprise you? Like, there's a really weird space to this, and like I said, as I keep reading, we're going to get a little more spooked here because, like I said, there is a concentration of the data into things that match both experiences, and one is completely different than the other, except for the signal versus the noise, which, like I said, shouldn't surprise anybody when you think about this deeply. However, it's something that we have really sort of left behind when it comes to the science.
Yeah, it goes to this whole idea of co-creation in anomalous experiences where it's not that the person is not having an experience and there may be something else there, but the person is sort of either projecting things onto the anomaly, or the anomaly is picking things out of the person's mind somehow to appear in a certain way that fits what the person thinks they should see. And there's all shades of both ways of that. So it reminds me of that in terms of, but in a near-death experience setting instead of just a while people are awake kind of a setting.
Yeah, totally. And like I said, loop the dreams in here, and this starts to get super weird. So I wonder how that type of study kind of pans out, and what children dream about versus sort of the cultural baggage that kind of ends up warping or twisting their dreams. Wild stuff. What's up? Let's go to, I'm gonna bump the Robert up here. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go to the Robert in Pennsylvania. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you? And go right ahead, sir.
Oh, I'm fine. So this is my favorite topic. I think that in scientific studies where children were less investigated, it's because, but it doesn't mean that the literature isn't full of children who have told of their experiences. There's plenty of books about near-death experiences with children, and lots of accounts. And if it hasn't happened in the laboratory, that's sad.
Yeah, agreed. Like, so this, in that, you're right in that space. Like, it's not wild for people like us that are like, okay, so there's the science and how they've sort of collated the data over the decades, but then there's also the experiences that you and I are into. We've read some of these books, and there's a lot of this stuff out there. But again, it's just not taken seriously on a scientific basis. And that's part of the unacceptable part of this, which is why we need to talk about it.
And of course, young children would have a stripped down version of what they experienced. Some of the things that they experience, a lot of them do, is deceased pets. They encounter deceased pets. They may have a brief past life review. like, for example, seeing their father pushing them on a swing or something like that. They're very brief. What's more profound is that they have more of a future look. They're able to see into the future and see what the reaction is going to be among the people that they were living with if they were to continue on. And after that experience is when they're asked if they want to stay or they want to go back. And they largely decide to go back because I've read one report of a girl that was nearly drowned, and she was in had a lot of health problems, and she really enjoyed where she was sent to because she had no pain. But then she saw what happened into the future and how this would affect her mother. And it would be a terrible tragedy that would, stun her mother's life for the rest of her life. And so she decided to go back. And when she went back, she was healed. And that's another thing. A lot of these kids who had problems, medical problems, and have this experience, a lot of them come back completely healed.
Yeah, which again, like it starts to get wooville, right? Like I always like to say the woo here, which is good because some of these things really warp your mind when it comes to what's happening in that space, right? Where that comes from, where this basis is, and the healing aspect. And I'm glad you brought it up. It's one that didn't cross my mind, but it certainly fits into the accounts of these near-death experiences, not just with children, but with others as well. You're spot on.
Well, the truth is, I don't want to get into any kind of, religious kick, but the Bible says that Jesus said, "Ask and ye shall receive." All right. And people are to seem to, have a lack of faith. I think that very often you can pray and say, I need to be healed because I have this I need to do. I cannot go through this with that. I have this I have to do, and this is in my way. And God will heal. It happens all the time.
It does happen all the time, by the way. The miracle that doctors cannot account for. It happens all the time. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, because they're into the structure, the scientific structure, and it's hard for them to think outside of the box, or they're worried about blending religion with science. But like I said, I'll repeat myself on one. There's plenty of literature in the literature of children and their experiences with this.
Right on. And spot on to bring that up. You're absolutely right. So what do you think is going on here? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to ask you, so what do you think is actually happening? So go ahead with your one more thing, and then I'll ask you the question.
Well, I've said this before. When infants are born, up until they're 4 or 5 years old, they still have a connection to the source. All right, because they have to, in order to be able to, to gradually be able to navigate this world, this reality. It'd be like putting on those special glasses. What are they? Where you VR glasses. Okay, putting on one of those, and you're seeing a different world, and you're trying to navigate through it. You're still connected to this one, all right, but you're trying to navigate a different one, all right, by use of artificial means. And well, this is that's very symptomatic of young children, is that they still have a connection to where they come from, and they have to, in order to be able to have enough time to adjust to this life. And another thing, you ever see two babies get together and they're look like they're talking to one another? Gobbledygook.
Yep.
It's not gobbledygook. They are actually talking to one another. All right. It's just it'd be like trying to ascertain what the whales are saying. because it's just not a language that we're used to, but it's a language from there. And it's because they're actually telepathic, talking to each other telepathically, but because they're born into this reality, they can't help but speak it in gobbledygook words.
I dig it. Sort of the proto language right there for everybody to see. And it does look, you're right. It does look like they're communicating fully, like that, like every chirp and coo and holler and whatever. They certainly are locked in to whatever conversation is happening, which of course we would not call a conversation at all scientifically, would we?
No, we would look at it and saying, "Oh, isn't that cute?" All right, it looks like they're talking to one another. Well, we are.
Makes sense to me.
It's just getting up to your commercial time, so I'm going to get ahead and go. But I'm going to certainly sit back and listen to this whole program. Okay. I wish it was 3 hours because this is my favorite topic.
I appreciate it. We'll circle back. We do have a couple minutes left if you want to. So what do you think is going on? Do you think that it is the same human experience no matter what? And stripping back that cultural baggage is a more true signal when it comes to what we're actually experiencing in that human passage from life to death?
Well, yes, it is, but it's stripped down because there's not a lot of life that these youngsters have lived, and like your piece says, they're not familiar with the archetypes, all right, that we grow into as adults, all right. So that's where that's at, but that doesn't mean that, and that might be why. That might be why so many of them come back.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah, I dig it. I find it highly fascinating. When I saw this study, I was like, okay, we have to do a show on this. It was very easy when I saw it. I was like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what this is about. And I don't know. As usual, look, I always say this, but I think we're going to find some spooky stuff about consciousness coming up soon in the next, hopefully in our lifetimes, 5, 10, 15 years, something like this. Somebody's going to discover something that's irrefutable that will be quantum level ridiculous, right?
We're very, 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 very close to that.
It feels like we are.
I would give it no more than a couple more years. All right. And I think that I've said this before too. We're not here. We are just imagining ourselves here. Our consciousness is where we originated from. And we're projecting ourselves into this reality, but our consciousness resides there.
Perfect. Timing is good. Everything is good. Your message is good. I appreciate you listening. Thanks for being such a good friend for a long time, a mentor to me and a mentor to us all. And appreciate the call. You have a great night.
Did you ever have one?
A near-death experience? No. I've had weird dreams and stuff like that maybe out of body or something. But no, like never an actual near-death experience. I had a concussion once when I was young, and it was ugly. Like I had tunnel vision for 3 days. It was really bad. But no, I've never actually sort of experienced the light.
That reminds me of one more thing.
Sure.
A lot of these kids, when they come back, I say probably the majority of them suddenly aren't as gabby. All right, they don't talk. They don't want to talk a lot. They get very serious and want to get in very, involved. They pay attention to adult stuff, all right, to what's going on in the world, and they go into serious occupations.
That makes sense to me. We'll talk about that when we get back. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you very much.
See you later.
Have a great night. That's the Robert. You know him, you love him. Give him a follow. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says the Robert at the bottom there. Go check out his book. Very good stuff. It's on Amazon. You can probably buy it tonight, get it tomorrow. That's how magical fast they are. I see you on the Michigander on the line. I see you. We're going to go to you as soon as we come back. Hang tight. Be right back. More Troubled Minds in just one moment. More with James. We got a new friend over there on YouTube calling, and your calls as well. Here we go. Troubled Minds in just one moment. Be right back.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Let's check the news. A robotic submarine mapping the underside of Antarctica's Dotson ice shelf has gone silent, but not before sending back some remarkable data. The autonomous vehicle, operated by researchers from the University of Gothenburg, spent 27 days scanning more than 54 square miles of hidden ice cavity, revealing flat plateaus, terraced steps, and teardrop-shaped pits carved by melt from below, none of which had ever appeared on satellite imagery. Some of those pits stretch nearly 1,000 feet long and over 160 feet deep. Contact with the vehicle was lost approximately 11 miles beneath the ice shelf, leaving its fate unknown. Turning now to a story with roots far older than modern medicine, a small yellow wildflower common across Ireland and Europe may be hiding a powerful secret. Known commonly as tormentil, the plant has been used for centuries in traditional medicine to treat wounds, infections, and digestive ailments. New research out of Ireland has found that extracts from the plant's root show genuine antimicrobial activity against multi-drug-resistant bacteria, and may even disrupt the protective shields that allow those bacteria to resist conventional antibiotics. Scientists say the findings could point toward new frontiers in the fight against superbugs. And finally, a moment that will likely define a generation of space exploration. NASA's Artemis II crew has returned the first images of Earth setting behind the Moon's horizon since the Apollo era, a phenomenon mission members are calling Earthset. The Orion spacecraft captured the crescent Earth slipping behind the lunar edge at roughly 4,000 miles above the surface, just moments before entering a 31-minute communications blackout with Mission Control in Houston. Commander Reed Wiseman described the sight as leaving him physically shaken, watching Earth, and everything on it, disappear silently behind another world. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope you're well. Yeah, so the way the phone line works, just so you know, if you're hearing me on the phone line, you'll know when you're on the show because it will say, you're now on Troubled Minds. It'll say something like that. So that means I put you on air. It'll say those words and then you're on. So just so you know, just if you're there on hold, thank you for your patience. We'll get to you in just a second here as soon as possible. And that's the way this works. It'll just literally say, yep, this is how things are. Yeah, it'll say you're on Troubled Minds, something like that. Okay. Hold on. Let me, because we got multiple folks calling back here. Are the phone lines dropping? Let me know about that because that's obviously a problem if that's happening. But yeah, hang tight. Stay right there. We'll get you momentarily. Sorry about the confusion. It is a professional phone line setup, so it will tell you you're on the show, just so you guys know. So shout out Michigander coming up. And somebody else behind him. Okay, what's up, Herschel, Derek the Night Stalker? What's up, Joe in Florida? Dragon Rose, great work. Again, like I said earlier, what's up, Matt Sal, Daryl? We got JJ, the Robert, thank you for the call. Great stuff. APOC, Sacha, and Jorge, I see you. What I missed? Puff over there. We got Hiker, Merlin Magi's here. Good evening. Always great chat from these amazing people over there. Yeah, the glitch effect on my camera is an accident. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I don't know how to quantify exactly what that is, but it happened just before showtime, and I was like, well, too late to fix it now. So we'll just have to roll with it. What's up, Jen, Michigander? We'll talk to you momentarily. I see you there. Good evening. Good evening. Tons of stuff here. Tons of stuff in play, and that's why we talk about these ideas in the way we do. Because I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. And that's okay, right? It's okay not to know the answers to some of these things, especially some of these big questions. As I like to say, they're above my pay grade. So how would you expect me to really know? I appreciate you. What's up? The Sweet says, great call to Robert. Indeed. Absolutely. Always letting it on fire. What's up, Kelly? Kelly says, I mean, same weather pattern and everything, right? Right? Which part? Okay. All right, here we go. Trouble Minds coming up. We're going to go to Michigander and then whoever's behind him, and more from James in your calls as well. Here we go. Trouble Minds coming up, talking near-death experiences and children and other weird stuff. I see a dagger spells. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening right about now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. All the places, all the things, troubledminds.org. You can find all the stuff, click the things, do the things, follow all the people, all the places. Go check out the Substack. The newsletter is very good. Look, 98.5% of all the things that we have here are free. It's free. It's free. It's free. It's free. It's free. You're probably listening to us free. Listening to us on KUAP-DB, free. Listening to us on YouTube and Rumble and all the places, free. It's free. So when people are selling something as part of this community, our friends, go buy some stuff. Go help support not just us, but support the community. Because look, it's 8 years of free. 8 years. Yeah, you try it. You try it and get back to me. We'll reconvene in 8 years. We just did the 8-year anniversary of Troubled Minds last episode. But like I said, it's not easy. It's not easy. So a little love where love is due. I appreciate it very much. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. James, anything to add? And then we'll go to Michigander on the phone line here.
Great call from Robert. I did not know about again, there's so many topics and all these things we always cover, and it was good to hear. I'm not surprised, though, that there are more reports of children NDEs, again, as sad as it is, that are out there. It's just that they're not covered, again, in scientific circles. So, but that doesn't surprise me because that's really common. All this stuff does get talked about everywhere, just not always recognized.
Exactly. And it's weird how, the woo world of experiences and experiencers and science, they will eventually converge, and there will be, I won't say consensus, of course, but there will be some commingling of this, and we will, as I said, discover something that'll probably blow our minds. What do you think about it? We're talking, I'm calling this an uncontaminated witness. The children near-death experience research left behind based on this article and this paper that just dropped on March 30th. So this is brand new. This stuff just came out a couple weeks ago. I'd love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to, it looks like Michigander. I'm pretty sure you're on Troubled Minds. It should tell you right now that you're on the show. Are you there? Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. No. What is going on with this? You're on Troubled Minds. Are you there? Uh-oh. Well, this is curious. Are they still there? Try this other one. You're on Troubled Minds. No. All right. Bugs in the phone line. Perfect. Sorry to keep you guys waiting. That's horrible. I'll try it again. No. Are you there? Test 1, 2. No. Okay. All right. Phone line's busted. Let me refresh it. Hold on. 1 second here. 1 second. Sorry about that. Sometimes things break, and this was working perfectly. This is the bane of my existence, by the way. Test 1, 2. You're on Troubled Minds. Are you there?
Hello.
Yes. Score. Hey, what's up? You're on Troubled Minds. Thanks for being patient with the phone line. What do you got for us tonight? You're Michigander in the chat. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Right on. Welcome to the thing. Thanks for jumping through the hoops. And what do you got for us? Go right ahead.
Actually, I got a couple of them for you because it started young for me, and I'm probably going to blow you away. I think my first near-death experience, I almost drowned in a river. I think I actually did, and I think the Creator saved me because I was saving my little brother. We were in a river swimming at a special swimming area just outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it's an immediate drop-off. It's a slow-moving river, but it's an immediate drop-off in the swimming area, and my little brother was struggling, and I went out to get him, and then I started struggling. I literally pushed him to a safe spot to where he could get his feet on land and get up. And then all of a sudden I was in trouble. And all I remember seeing is like a really nice guy's face, like a really clean cut guy. He didn't have long hair or nothing like that. All I seen was his face. And he did the same thing, pushed me to where my feet was touching the ground and I could get out of the water.
Okay. Wow.
And then,
go ahead.
Well, then it got really wild. And then Sibley Elementary in 3rd grade. When you look at this building, it's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. These are all, you can look this stuff up. It's all free source information. Sibley Elementary is when they started with that tag or gate program. And then they shipped me to a school called Harrison Park Elementary. And if you look that school up, it's in Grand Rapids. They they shipped me to that school immediately after the testing. And that's on the northwest side of Grand Rapids. And if you look at the original building, I think they changed it. I was riding my motorcycle by it about a decade ago, and they changed it a little bit. But if you look at the old pictures, it looks just like that school in X-Men. What did they call that place? Like Xavier's School for the Gifted or whatever?
Yeah, totally.
Well, I had another near-death experience crashing a motorcycle.
Okay, hold on.
Young,
wait, 1 sec. Okay, so this was the I want to ask you about the childhood one first. We'll get to this one. We got plenty of time. I appreciate the call and thank you for sharing these experiences and these ideas. I love this. That's the whole point of doing this, so we can just talk to each other. But let me ask you about the first experience, okay? Before we get into the second one here, so you saw there was an entity there. There was a person of sorts. Was it something you saw a full body, like a full body person, or was it just the face, or was it the feeling of a face? Like, how could you describe that so we understand a little bit better on what you saw?
I was young. The memory is kind of dull. I just remember he was a white guy, clean cut. That's all I remember. And he was like really white, like bright. You know how they say you shine? It's like that situation.
Okay.
But I have a real hard time recalling all that, the facial features, which is unusual for me because I remember like everything from 1 year old, and it scares people.
That's it's something not everybody can do. That's why I love that. I'm the guy too. Like, I'll forget your name. Unfortunately, it's one of the detriments, but I'll never forget your face. Like, for whatever reason, I'm just wired that way, like predisposed to be that way. I try really hard to not remember or to not forget people's names. By the way, what's your first name, if you don't mind sharing, so I can remember your name?
Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate the call. So go ahead with the next one. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I just wanted to ask you a very specific question because I wanted to see how that sort of manifested in your mind in that near-death experience. There was certainly somebody there, that idea of the psychopomp that we were talking about. And you can't really say what the person looked like, but there was certainly a person there that pushed you and sort of saved your life. I love that. What else you got on the next one? Go ahead.
After I crashed that motorcycle, I didn't realize it until just the last couple of years, but I'm just like gifted way above anybody else. You could like drop me out of a plane anywhere and it's just nothing to me. I'm going to shine. I don't know. It's real weird. It's hard to explain. Like, I can see through the matrix completely. Like, I can look at somebody and it'll be like Nebuchadnezzar crew or something like that. And the thing is, I'm not a Bible guy. I grew up listening to Slayer, and pretty much only Slayer because they stood up for our freedom of speech.
Hell yeah.
But then they came out with that God Hates Us All album, and pretty much it turned me off. I was like, whoa, and they're allowing this? This was like back in 2010, I think.
And then you became the authoritarian. That's funny. Okay. I'm not saying you're authoritarian, but it is funny that you're like, so, some things are a little too much. And by the way, too, just a reminder that this is how we sort of, we give our time and our energy to those things. And if those things go too far or too much, jump the shark, you don't have to support that stuff anymore. It's very simple. So good on you, man. Like, they kind of crossed a line you didn't like, and you're like, okay, it's time to do something else. I love it. Tell us about that motorcycle crash.
I crashed the bike and then slid into a pole and got tore up real bad, crushed my shoulder and stuff. But I had visions of flying after that first NDE. When they shipped me to Harrison Park Elementary, I kept having visions of flying through the school, but it was like as I was walking down the staircase to go outside for recess or something like that, it was like I get a vision of flying down the staircase instead of walking. And I've heard other people talk about it too. But that's like that's the biggest thing that I recall for any experience with it is the flying. Because I've done it again like my whole life since, except for it's different than at school. It's like I don't understand it, but it's the same thing over and over again, and it'll happen when I'm working. I'm not sleeping or nothing. It's hard to explain. But I know that some of the stuff that I'm dealing with ties into that GATE program stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that. I was also in GATE as well. They didn't change me schools or whatever, but it was certainly one of those ones where they moved me into certain classes and I hung out with certain people, and some of them were real cool and some of them were real not cool. But I don't know. I kind of felt like I was moved from the general population in prison to some a privileged space or something. It was weird. It was just really weird. Like you ended up in the same school, but then now you're rubbing elbows with all these different people that you hadn't even seen before. You didn't even know they went to the school. It was really strange. But I didn't get moved to a different school. But yeah, I follow you because it certainly was a completely different experience after I was, identified as a smart kid or whatever the hell they want to call it.
Well, I got to protect myself, so I can't go too far into it. I told you I could see through the matrix thing.
Yep.
So if we talked on a private situation, I'll give you a little bit more about what I'm recalling right now from the transfer for them 2 schools. And like I said, it's open source information. You can look it up, and it's going to blow you away. I'm not going to say it on here in front of everybody right here for safety reasons, but I think it has to do with what's going on right now. I think we're going to stand up and be somewhat of the new role models and leaders. We're going to lead by example.
Amen.
I can't tolerate anything that's going on to the point where I refuse to even give my ID to an officer. You guys can't arrest pedophiles. You've lost the right to govern. Sorry.
Well said.
And it's, I'm just being honest. And that's what it's all about right now, because how's that go when being truthful is a revolutionary act or something?
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember who said that, but I definitely know the quote. Yep.
And that's where we're at, because nobody can tell the truth, even to their own family members. It's just getting spun out to where I don't even want to be around people.
It was George Orwell, right? I think that was George Orwell that said that.
I don't know.
Pretty sure. When when the truth becomes a revolutionary act, something like that. Definitely George Orwell. 100%. Yeah. And you're right. Like you're right. And look, I'm not encouraging anybody to do anything other than a peaceful protest. Okay. Like, no violence. I'm not going to say those things. Okay.
Go
ahead.
Sir, when I say lead by example, what I'm talking about is like going to like town meetings or voting things or city council stuff. And when you see the fraud stuff or what they're trying to pull over everybody else's eyes, you're supposed to call it out right then and lead by example.
Amen. Amen, brother. Absolutely. And we need more free thinkers that can see through the veil. Yeah, the matrix. Yep.
Well, leading by example also too means acting right towards people the way you want to be treated, eating healthy, doing, right things like the Slayer album came out and I knew it was too much. Actually, it was the next one that came out that really spun me out. I was like, whoa, dude, World Painted Blood or something. It was bad.
Yeah.
But that was in 2010 and 2011. That started happening to me, and I had just started cuffing off and going into the woods from the big cities. And I did travel construction for decades. I built Universal Studios. I've done all the large name companies in the United States. And now that I'm waking up, I realize that Creator Source trained me with the best and the worst this country has to offer. I can give you references.
That's okay. Like I said, don't dox yourself. Don't out anything. But I know you're kind of just talking facetiously.
There's so many guys that built Universal Studios, you could never find me.
No problem. And I'm not trying to find you. That's not the goal here. Okay, we're just trying to have a conversation. Hey, join the Discord if you haven't. Jay in the chat says, "Hey, Daniel, would you come join the Discord? We need to talk. He's not a Fed, I promise. It's just cool people hanging out."
I really need to speak to somebody about some of this stuff with high level intelligence, because I can't find none around me, and I stay out in the woods literally. I walk 20 miles a day and stuff like that with a couple of dogs, and I just stay out in the woods.
Yeah, brother, you're our type of people. Absolutely our type of people. Please join the Discord if you have not. Troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. I'll drop that in the chat for you when you get back in there. Thank you for finding us. Where did you find us, by the way?
Actually, I've been watching you for a long time, boss.
Okay, sweet. Perfect. On YouTube?
I actually just lost my phone a couple days ago and had to get a new one, and it's got me locked out of all my other accounts, and I had to start this account.
Gotcha. Okay, sweet. So long time, first time. I appreciate the call. You're welcome back anytime. Please join the Discord. Come meet the amazing people to make this show go. And thank you for sharing the experiences. That's the whole point. We need to talk to each other about these ideas and about what may or may not be. And you, my friend, you are welcome anytime. I appreciate the call.
Actually, the stuff that I got to speak about is so in depth, I'm shook that I don't even want to talk to the right people without being protected.
I got you. Okay.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's not bad. It's really good. You will be like, whoa, wait a minute. Because I am right now. And to the point where now I'm going to town. I walk to town 20 miles every day, and all kinds of stuff.
Right on. Okay. Sweet.
No fear.
No fear.
They even changed the definition of fear. Fear, false, imminent, alternate reality. And the reason I know that is because I looked the definition up when all them little dudes used to start putting that sticker in the back of their windows in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
They changed the definition.
Yep.
But I'm heading for the Discord right now. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
You're the best. I appreciate the call. You're welcome back anytime, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's there you go. Daniel in Michigan, I assume. Michigander is the name. Michigander in the YouTube chat. Go say hi. Tell him great call. That was a fantastic call. Look, I love meeting new people and talking to new people and exploring new ideas. And especially when it fits into exactly what we're talking about, near-death experiences as a child. Wild stuff, right? Absolutely wild. Notice how they were different. As an adult, clearly riding a motorcycle. As a child, not. Weird. Super weird. I see in the chat there, Nick. What's up? Fantastic call, Daniel. Pleasure to meet you. Love you. James, anything on that? We'll go to the phone line, and then we got, looks like Derek and Jen after the break. Hang tight, guys. Thanks for being patient.
Yeah, I've heard of people having that experience of being saved or rescued by someone, some entity before. Whether it's part of the near-death experience or not, but I've heard of both. So that is fascinating, and yeah, great call.
Absolutely, and glad to actually meet this gentleman. I've seen the name in the chat before, but pretty sure we never got a call from him. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. We're talking. Look, I'm calling this an uncontaminated witness. The children NDE research left behind. There's a whole new study that came out. The article said around March 30th, so this is just new, like a couple weeks new. It's not quite tax day yet. Don't get me started on that. Rage, but they're saying that over 40 years of near-death experience research, they actually left out most of the children. There's only 8 kids included as this, or was it 6, 8, something like that? I don't know. Something like that. Something very, very small. It's in the thing. I'll go back and revisit, but it's a very small sample. And when you talk about these dogma cycles I'm always on about, I wonder like how much of our own baggage we sort of pack into that space. Makes it weird, doesn't it? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. Thank you for being patient through the weird phone stuff. Let's go to mystery caller number 2. You're on Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hey, Mike. It's Matt.
Matt Sal. What's up, brother? Matthew in California. Thanks for calling back, and thanks for going through the weird phone hoops. Appreciate you, brother. What's on your mind? Go ahead.
It's not my fault, but I was going to call. I want to talk about this, about how we have kids that have reincarnation stories, and then they'll remember how they died, and then they will remember that they would have a birthmark in that spot of where they were touched, or where the damage came from. And so, back in witchcraft, in old stories, and like prosecution times of witchcraft, this is back then, they would say that witches would sign a contract with the devil to get their powers, and that the devil would mark them after they signed the contract, and where the devil touched them with his hand is where birthmarks come from. And of course, back then they would use those as prosecution ways, and they would say, "Oh, you have a birthmark here. You know that means you were touched by the devil. You're a witch. You will burn the stake." And it's weird to me how they have those stories, and how we have these reincarnation stories of how kids remember their past lives and then how they died, and there's a birthmark there. And I remember as a kid, I remember having these dreams. And usually in my dreams, I would die. And I would have dreams where I would get hit or stabbed or killed or bit by a zombie. And I would always get killed in the same spot, in my right lower back. That's where the bullet or the knife would hit, or the zombie would bite me. And then I didn't realize it till later on as an adult when I found this out. Guess where my birthmark is?
No, really?
On my lower right back.
That's wild.
And
I wonder. Okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's my all I got for tonight. But thank you.
No, wait, don't go anywhere. So weird. So did you, as a child then? So this was more of a dream state. It wasn't more like an NDA space. NDE space. It was. These were sort of a dream manifestations of this exact thing. Is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. So these are dreams, not necessarily near-death experiences. Just in my dreams as a child, before I researched this phenomenon about the birthmarks and the witch marks. They call them witch marks. Is what they call them. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, that's wild. And so that's why I brought up earlier sort of this commingling of maybe the NDE space of the passing of here and then passing on. And then also maybe the dream space commingling in some capacity. I wonder, right? I do wonder. And you're basically confirming your experience in the dream space almost as if the NDE is trying to remind you of something, which you haven't had, right? You haven't had a near-death experience personally, right?
Not that one, no, but I have, but it wasn't in that same spot. Yeah, it was all dreams.
That's absolutely wild. Okay,
I don't know if I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead. I mean, I love it. That's the whole point of talking to each other, because maybe this is where some of this stuff does shake out in the experience space. That somebody's, like you said, this is something that kind of dawned on you later, and it all came together, these pieces, and maybe it's not a coincidence. And that becomes really the impetus for the conversation and these larger wild discussions when it comes to who knows what's really going on out there. I love it, man. Absolutely fantastic. Appreciate it very much. If you got anything else, go ahead.
And I just want to say, yeah, check your birthmarks and check if you have birthmarks where they are. And check your family members and see if they have birthmarks in the same space, and talk about those stories and those ideas. Where your birthmarks are, and see maybe you can find like a near-death experience. Thank you for the show. Good night, Mike. Thanks.
Thank you for the call. You were the best. You know him, you love him. That's Matthew in California. You know him as Matt's Owl, affectionately. Templeoftheowl.com is where you find his podcast. I've been a good friend for a long time. I was lucky enough to meet him and his wife a couple times, Lacey, and they're very nice people, as you can tell, and I appreciate it very much. Go check out his podcast. It is called Temple of the Owl, as I said. And by the way, all you have to do is go to Troubled Minds, search it yourself, templeoftheowl.com, super easy, or troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down and it says follow Matt's Owl right there. Click that. It'll take you to the Spotify of where he does the podcast. And he synthesizes a massive esoteric book collection into podcast form. And as you can tell, he's very locked into these ideas and a very smart guy. That's that. You guys are the best. Appreciate the phone call. And thanks for being cool and chill in all the spaces. James, about 30 seconds left, a minute, 45 seconds. If you got anything, if not, that's okay. I'll ramble us out to the break.
No, it's just fascinating. It's always amazing when we do these shows and all the different shows that we're all part of, where we always hear about experiences that other people that we don't know have. But then if we start talking about all these things, it's amazing what comes up that we do have experiences of some kind with. And again, it's just been amazing talking to everyone in this community and the surrounding communities that are, friends that we know that do their own things, learning about all these things and finding all these patterns and trying to figure out what they all mean, if possible.
Amen. Absolutely. Shout out to Robert over there on Rumble. Thank you for the kind and generous donation. He says this: everyone crossing over is given the choice to stay in the afterlife or go back to this world. You'll know what choice your loved ones made if they don't recover from whatever put them on death's door. Ah, I see. You're the best, Robert. Appreciate the call. Thank you for the donation over there on Rumble. Thank you for the phone call, and thank you for being you. Thank you for being the mentor to myself and to us all. Yeah, let's push the button. Play us out of here. We got Derek, the Night Stalker, coming up, Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer, and your calls as well. We're talking near-death experiences, but not your mama's near-death experience. We're talking children and how they've been left out of these studies for over 40 years. Signal to noise ratio? Maybe. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link. Be right back. More on the way.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
Let's check the news. A growing body of evidence suggests your smartphone may know more about you than you realize, though perhaps not in the way you think. Ad industry experts and computer scientists confirm that phones are not passively listening to conversations, but emphasize that the data profiles built from your browsing habits, location, and app usage can be remarkably precise. Researchers at Northeastern University conducted large-scale testing across thousands of Android apps and found no evidence of covert audio recording, though they note these companies are, in their words, very good at watching everything you're doing online. Turning to a story raising serious concerns about the real-world consequences of the AI boom, OpenAI chief executive Sam Altman's San Francisco home has now been targeted in 2 separate attacks within a single weekend. A firebomb was thrown at the property Friday morning, and early Sunday, 2 suspects were arrested after allegedly firing a weapon from a passing vehicle outside the property in the Russian Hill neighborhood. Police recovered 3 firearms from the suspects' residence. Altman has publicly acknowledged that fear and anxiety surrounding artificial intelligence are, in his words, justified. And finally, a potential breakthrough in understanding one of medicine's most elusive diseases. A new study out of the University of California, Riverside proposes a unifying theory for how Alzheimer's may develop at the cellular level. Researchers found that 2 key proteins associated with the disease appear to compete for the same binding sites on structural fibers inside brain cells, suggesting the 2 hallmarks of the disease may be far more directly connected than previously understood. The findings could help reconcile years of conflicting research into which protein is the primary driver of cognitive decline. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. I see you there, Karen, Satya, Apoc, Matzel. Thanks for the call. We got Derek coming up and Jen. Daryl, what's up? Lamas Fina, the official llama of Troubled Minds. With Robert, thanks for the call. Thanks for the donation and the great comment over there. Dragon Rose, Eric, and Herschel. I see you guys. What's up? What's up? Who'd I miss? If I missed anybody, yeah, Sam Altman. I tell you what, like that guy gives me the creeps. Like there's a lot of those technocrats. That's the word I was looking for earlier. There's a lot of those technocrats that give me the creeps, but that dude especially gives me like the triple X. Ugh. What's up, Puff, Merlin Magi? We got Cubs Futures here. Carl's here. Good evening, Carla and Hanny. Sorry, Carl, for calling you Carla for so long. Good evening. Hello. What's up, Gordo? Hi. I see you guys in all the places. I appreciate all the support. Thank you for being here. Yeah, this stuff is complicated. And like I said, you know me, I'm not scared of complicated because recognize this. There's an important aspect to this. When you frame complicated as unresolved, it just becomes like a sort of a fruitful, interesting conversation. Like you don't have to resolve everything all the time, right? Like that's, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like we're always predisposed to this idea that we have to figure things out. I don't know. I think we have, God willing, some time to figure some things out. So let's take our time. Let's talk about ideas, and maybe that's where the best revelations come from. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening. Let's do it. Hold onto your butts. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we go deep. We're talking near-death experiences. Let me just read the blurb, probably more accurate. Here you go. For 40 years, scientists have studied near-death experiences almost exclusively in adults. A new literature review just asked the obvious question everyone missed. What about the children? The answer, of course, changes everything. Love to hear what you think. Now, as usual, look, there's no dogma here. This is sort of a conversation about faith, yes, about spirituality, yes, about materialism, yes, about all of these things, but outside of these dogma cycles, which to me is the most important part, the most important aspect of this, because look, you can frame anything any way you want and sort of use the vernacular as has been ascribed to you that you've learned. And that's cool. Like I get it and I understand fully and it's okay. And I literally am not going, don't do that. I'm saying, look at all these other things too. That's all. Like it's very simple. And it doesn't always have to be that one person is right and one person is wrong, as I always say, that zero-sum game. It can be, let's just talk about things and let's agree and also disagree and still be friends tomorrow. It's not revolutionary. It's really not. It's just, well, the way I see the world. And yeah, love to hear your thoughts. James, anything to add? And we'll go to Derek the Night Stalker.
Just glad to be here. And I think one other thing I wanted to point out was adding on to what I just said last segment there, the end of that is look at everything that we talk about, and we know people, and we've all had our own experiences. Now, multiply that by all the people that we know outside of these communities that we also know have had experiences. And that, to me, that makes everything fascinating, because how can almost everyone out there, be completely wrong about all of the anomalous experiences we've had? There seems to be something there. I don't know what it is, but there's too much for there to be not something there.
Agreed. 100%. Something there. All my lights just shut off and my keyboard's no longer working. So let's hope we can limp through the rest of this. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Oh, this still works. Super sweet.
Yep. What's going on, Brutus?
Derek in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker. What's up, brother? Thanks for jumping in here. Thanks for being Johnny on the spot. I know you're busy as hell over there. Welcome. Lots here, right? This is Signal to Noise, kids, NDEs, the dream experience, how it all comes together. I don't know what you got, my man. Welcome to the thing. How are you?
Good. I got a few ideas here. If I cut off too, just let me know, but it should be okay. The internet was going a little wonky before, but it sounds good now. Last night just came up on I didn't change the YouTube video, so it popped up after whatever I was watching, an episode of the Y-Files. I'm not sure how recent it was, but he was talking about the alien interview book, I think it was, about like the Roswell alien crash and how like some kind of psychic interview done with the Roswell grave, something like that. And I was listening on 2x speed, so I didn't catch all the details. And I think a big part of it was that it ended up not being real. But one of the aspects of it was that the Gray said that it was like a spiritual entity that was kind of just incarnating into these different vessels, kind of like different areas to communicate with the different areas or whatever, and that we're all kind of these spiritual entities and stuff. But the Earth, and this is like, it was going real into like a bunch of lore and stuff. It was pretty fun, but not very believable, but pretty fun. How there's like some kind of empire called the Domain, and then an older empire that like dominates most of the known universe, the material universe. But we live in a prison planet remnant of the old empire that the Gray was trying to study and then like crash the ship or some kind of BS or whatever. But that in this prison planet, it's like a soul recycling matrix, where the reason why we see this kind of tunnel, we all see, no matter what your cultural paradigm, you kind of have a shared experience, you kind of a shared NDE of getting like sucked in through a tube, basically, or a wire or something like that, Ethernet, and then seeing your loved ones. But that's according to this alien from the Roswell crash, according to this book that may or may not be fake. It's just part of the recycling process. So it's like specifically like a like a bug zapper, something like that. That the reason why we see the same things over and over again is because that's just what the machine does. The recycling machine in our solar system, basically. So like kind of synchronistic, but that's something we talk about a ton. The whole trick by the light thing, and that there's like some kind of false light, and then that's like blinding you almost, and kind of trying to make you feel good, which I would imagine bait to a fish kind of smells nice and kind of might have some kind of aphrodisiac sense to it. It would be like, oh, what's that worm dangling there? Whatever, like it might feel good, but it might not be the best thing for you. And that's the recycling process. And then you have to try to avoid that, like navigate the darkness and then find the true light or whatever. And that's the door out of here, which we talked about a ton. But I got more thoughts about the specific studies and stuff, but what do you think about that? Yeah,
that's Bardo stuff. I mean, that's as usual, right? Like it hits all the things we're always talking about. And you're right. Like the light in particular is one of those old, it's an old trope, but also it is one of the most probably dominant human experiences that you can point to, just like, waking up and just like dreaming and just like eating. And, it is one of those things that like calling it a trope seems irresponsible at this point, because it certainly seems as if this is very, very real. But the question becomes, of course, how real and how much of it has been tainted by all the stuff we're always talking about, the dogma cycles and this stuff. And of course, by the way we find out is by juxtaposing what children experience, which makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, exactly. And let's say, just for argument's sake, that this recycling process does happen. Part of the reason for it was, or part of the process is some kind of amnesia. That's like the way to escape this process is basically to remember that it's happening. Essentially, is kind of what I got out of it. And then the recycling process intentionally gives you the amnesia and wipes your memories and wipes all of your ancestral memories and that kind of stuff. So maybe potentially a benefit of like the studying the children is they're closer to this amnesia process. They just had it done, so maybe there's some kind of lingering memories before the process. They're just closer to that whatever was just done to them, maybe. But that ties into all kind of stuff. Like the shamanic cultures still take kids because they believe that they have some kind of otherworldly sense. They're not tainted. That they can. The ones who are in our culture might be deemed a little bit crazy. They're deemed like the shamans. They're the seers of the group. They're taken from a young age. In the modern day, that we have like MK Ultra and that kind of stuff. So like the only 8 studies in 40 years thing, it got me wondering, like, what do the studies actually entail? Like, does it have any details about that? What is an NDE study other than just asking you what happened? Does it say?
Yeah, it's interviews. Yeah, I mean, because you can't actually kind of go back and rewind time and tap into their brain and stuff. So it's like an interview of what you experienced, and then of course, very much like we do, we talk about this in non-scientific terms of sort of comparing experiencer accounts and things like this. But they're just kind of trying to quantify it scientifically. So yeah, I mean, there's no like tapping minds and wires and brains and stuff like this. It's interviews. That's how they do it.
Yeah. Which got me wondering, like, I mean, this seems like a pretty limited, like, body of, like, did you ever see the show The OA before? It's on Netflix. I had like last season or 2.
I haven't, no.
It's pretty weird. And in the first season, slight spoiler alert, she's kidnapped and brought into this group of adult people. But the person, Jason Isaac, the actor or whatever, was like kidnapping adults and basically like keeping them in this chamber and then drowning them periodically, and has a bunch of like electrodes and stuff hooked up to their brain and studying the near-death experience and drowning them and bringing them back and drowning them and bringing them back. And it gets real trippy. She ends up like hearing sounds from like that match the sounds of Saturn and all kind of weird stuff. But that's kind of the MK Ultra angle of it. If there's like some valuable information to be gleaned by this process, like, is there anything that induces NDE, like any kind of studies that will do this on purpose? So like, first I just asked the AI, like how do they find people for this? Why are there so many, like, why are there so few kids? It's not what I asked, but what I was trying to get at. And it said that hospital records, researchers review medical records to identify patients that have experienced cardiac arrest, coma, or other life-threatening conditions. The ICU and ER collaborations, medical staff will inform researchers about potential participants who have been treated for life-threatening conditions. When that's with kids, that seems just a little bit, maybe a little bit like foul play. A little bit seems a little bit weird to be reading children's medical records to potentially scrupulous scientific studies.
To quote science, yeah. So you're right there. I think there is sort of a out of bounds aspect to it as well, because I mean, rightfully so, children's records are heavily respected in that space, in the medical space, with HIPAA and stuff like this. I mean, it should be. So I'm not complaining about that at all. So maybe that is part of it. You need express consent from parents and stuff. So maybe you're onto something here as part of it, that it's just harder to get actual access to those exact records and maybe interviews. Maybe you're onto something here.
Yeah. And kids would just be not as easy predictors as adults. I mean, you can have adults who are have chronic illnesses or different. They can be like, you can be anticipating them dying. So much easier probably than a child. Could have some kind of like anything can happen to anybody, but I think like people in a medical ward are probably more populated by adults and maybe easier targets, whatever. But I asked like try to find some studies that induce NDEs. And I came up with these. The AWARE study, capital AWARE study, a multi-center observational study that investigated the incidence and characteristics of NDEs in cardiac arrest survivors. The study found 9% of patients who completed stage 2 interviews reported compatible NDE experiences, such as taking cardiac arrest people. The Van Lommel study. These are just the regular studies. These are just I asked it. Give me details about specific studies.
I got you.
Ones,
you guys in my write-up, by the way, just real quick. Pim Van Lommel. No, we hear you fine. I just want to point this out. So the Van Lommel study you just mentioned, I have that in the write-up, and I have the links in the description. So you're spot on. There? Did I just break Derek?
Oh, I don't know.
Test 1, 2. Pim Van Lommel, just fill in some gaps here. Derek is back. Is a Dutch cardiologist, author, researcher. There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. When I interrupted you, it cut, and then we were like, "Uh-oh, I broke Derek." Sorry, God, we hear you back. You're back. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'll try to wrap it up quickly, Jen. So I asked, give me some studies that induce near-death experiences. So DMT and NDEs, researchers have found that the psychedelic drug DMT can induce experiences similar to NDEs. A study published in the Journal of Neurotransmission found that DMT can trigger a surge in neurotransmitters, leading to experiences of peace, unity, and transcendence. So those are used to induce NDEs. In studies, ketamine and NDEs, another study published in Brain and Behavior, which is a magazine, found that ketamine and anesthetic can induce NDE-like experiences in patients. A study reported a case where a patient experienced a vivid NDE after experiencing ketamine for emergency treatment. Syncope-induced NDEs, syncope. Researchers at the University of Michigan have studied NDE-like experiences induced by syncope, fainting. So their study, published in Neuroimage, found that brain's electrical activity changes significantly during syncope, leading to experiences similar to NDE. So these things, they'll use ketamine, they'll use DMT, they'll induce fainting. There's another one for virtual reality and stuff. So those things are just not things you're going to do with kids and stuff. And then if you are just looking for people with cardiac arrest, or just trying to find people that just had an NDE, if you're a parent and your child just had this experience, you're much less likely to be like, oh yeah, let me just answer a bunch of survey questions. Let me put let me put my traumatized kid in a lab room with a person in a lab coat. I can see why these studies haven't been done, and if they have, they're kind of more MK Ultra style.
Yeah, which makes a ton of sense as usual. And shout out to Daniel there too. The statement he made. Look, if we can't protect the children, what are we doing? And so this is a good example of maybe that being the case, where it's just more difficult to kind of gain access. Because you're right. If that was my kid, I don't have kids for the record, but if, kind of putting myself in that headspace, I'd be like, no, hell no. This kid's been through enough. He doesn't need, doctors asking him questions about wild things that he doesn't need to know about right now. Right. Or he or she or whatever. Yeah. So I'm with you there. So maybe this is for good reason, and the smaller sample size as part of it, but also I don't think we can deny that signal to noise ratio as part of this conversation. There's probably something to this 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that there is the children have this amplified power. I think, James, in it, Pennywise, has tricks these kids using those quote unquote dead lights and changes the appearances to kind of deceive them, but it's intentionally to scare them and stuff. And kids have the extra juice, extra tasty and stuff. And again, the shamanic cultures, they'll use children, the Oracle of Delphi and stuff, and just the MK Ultra type stuff, the Stranger Things type stuff. That kids have this more psychic ability. So I think that there's definitely power in the kids. I'm just going to move past that quick. We talk about it all the time, and more to just it makes a little bit of sense why we haven't had these studies. I wonder if Bigelow's going to get involved in consciousness studies in this way. What do those things entail?
Don't get us sued. You're the best. Yeah. Appreciate you. Thanks for peeling out some time.
Sorry about the internet.
No, you're good. It happens. Derek the Night Stalker, you love him. Good friend for a long time. The official synchro mystic of Troubled Minds, by the way. Give him a follow in all the places. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Night Stalker. It's underran. It's all alphabetical. And that's why we do this. Let's help each other together, and go follow his YouTube channel. It's completely free. Brilliant guy. Let's encourage him to create create more content, and always a pleasure when we get him to call in. 702-857-6939. See what I did there? Two phone numbers converging in my brain. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Jen in Missouri, thanks for being patient. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? And go right ahead.
Hey, doing good. Yeah, so you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. Yep, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so when I was about 5, I had got chicken pox. And I remember like them standing around my bed, like my family standing around my bed and like looking at me all close and everything. And then like a couple of weeks later or something, I don't know the time frame, but I started having some type of respiratory issue. And I went to the doctor for it. And my doctor, I remember his name and everything. I'm just going to say it. It's Dr. Maniago. It's the doctor that I had. And he thought that I had bronchitis. And so like they thought I had bronchitis. And I remember my family, like my mom, she went to this nearby city, like just out for the weekend with my stepdad. And then like I went to my grandpa's house and I was sick. I had like a bit of a cough and everything. It wasn't a big deal. I was like 5 years old. So it wasn't like a huge deal to me. Like I was just laying on the couch. Like I couldn't get up or anything like that. And I was having trouble breathing. And it's like the nearest thing I can like relate to was like trying to breathe through like a straw or something. Like I couldn't breathe. And then like my grandpa wasn't like sure what to do. And he gave me like a spoonful of like A1 steak sauce to like try to like clear my chest or something. I don't know why.
Grandpas are the best.
And then like, yeah, I don't know. And then my mother like eventually showed up and I was put in a car. I was like put in the car like just in the back seat. And I remember rolling off into like, not rolling off, but like crawling into the floorboard and like losing consciousness basically or something, like just going to sleep sort of. But I couldn't breathe, like hardly at all. And when I came to again, I was in the hospital and I was like on a gurney bed with like an oxygen mask on. And like my mom was beside and we were like going down this hallway and she looked like really upset. And like, I got all like, kind of freaked out. And I was just like, asked her, like, am I going to die? You know, but I had like this breathing mask on. And so she didn't really say anything, but like, she was like, and I just like asked it again. And she was just like, you know, said something like, I think she said like, no, you're not going to die or something like that. Now it's a long time ago. Like I was like 5 years old. Anyway, like I went completely out. And then I like came to and it was daylight and I was in like an oxygen tent and there was like all these, like, there was like all this stuff. Like there was like a puzzle. There was like, cause they were giving me an IV. They're like putting an IV in my arm. Like I had been out for like, I don't know if it was like a couple of days or like what, but I guess I had like some type of, I had asthma actually at the time. I don't have asthma now anymore, which is weird because I outgrew it when I was like 8. But they had misdiagnosed me and like I was dying of like an asthma attack. And like my mom immediately, like I remember hearing stories after that, but like I had died. I had died and they had to resuscitate me and they didn't know if I was going to make it. And I remember other people talking about it too, like all my family members and stuff. Like when I was growing up, like, oh yeah, we almost lost her because she had like, you know, they had to resuscitate her and all of this. In that whole window of time, whatever was going on, like I went into like this, like, it felt like just like darkness, like a void or something. Not in a bad way. Like I wasn't, and what's weird about all of this, while all that was going on and everybody was freaking out, like I wasn't really that freaked out or scared. I was just kind of like there for it. And like while it was happening, And if I, they said that I died, but I wouldn't know I didn't know the difference or anything. It was just like I was asleep, and then I don't know if it was like brain death or like heart death or like what the circumstances were, but just that they had to resuscitate me. And so like that's the experience that I have of it. And like as far as any memory of it, it was just like really weird. And after that, for like a month or two, it seemed, I had to like live in an oxygen tent, like in a tent. It was the weirdest thing. Sorry, my dog's barking.
That's okay. You're good. Yeah, that's wild. And so oxygen. When you say oxygen tent, what comes to mind is ET. Remember, they had ET in like an oxygen tent.
I was like
back
in a
that.
tent.
That's wild.
When I woke up, I was in a complete tent, and like they'd put this mask on me every day, and I had to like breathe through this mask like for a certain amount of time, and they call it like a space mask to make it cool. And like I was like in a tent, so it was super weird. Even at my house, they put me in a tent. And then when I was like 8 years old, like 3 years later, like I just miraculously didn't have asthma anymore. It was like the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I've got a similar allergy. Like I was allergic to everything, literally everything. And then it just went away. Like 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that space. Like it just went away.
Yeah.
Wild.
It just went away. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
So they brought you back. Like you were resuscitated.
I was resuscitated.
Was there, so regarding the child and the NDE stuff, what's your take on that? Like, was there a something you can tell us about that? Like, I don't want to get too personal because, some of these things are not appropriate or
it's really weird. Like for me, it was like, I just slipped off into like I just slipped off. I don't know if they gave me something like while I was on I don't know because I was passing out. I think I was passing out before that, just losing consciousness ever so often. And then like with that, I just slipped off and like just stayed there. And then like, that's it. Like, it was just like, not like in a bad way. It was just
like the comforting void instead of the light, like the opposite.
I just kind of slipped off in there. And like, there was like not much to it or anything, Like, I mean, in my case, because like I say, I think that there's brain death, heart death, and they're bringing you back from any number of those. I had to be resuscitated. So it was like, like, oh no. And then they like resuscitated me, So I don't know. I wasn't awake for any of it. I just went out. And then like when I came to, I was in a tent and they were putting an IV in. That's what woke me up. They were pulling the tape off my arm. Like it hurt really bad. Like they were redoing my IV. And I stayed there for like a week or something. And then they brought me home and I was in a tent. And then like I had to stay in that tent for a while. And then even after the tent, they were like, so I don't know. But the initial thing, trying to address that, like, I don't know. It was like just this nothing. But that doesn't mean that there's nothing. It just means like at that time, like I said, I think that maybe I had like brain death. Maybe I had like, something like that. Because you'd have to have brain death, heart death to go completely dead. So I was just resuscitated. They were just like, she's dead.
Not to
resuscitated.
Not to make light, but the Princess Bride, she's only mostly dead. but okay, but hold on real quick. So it feels to me like this is sort of an anesthesia sort of thing, right? Like when they, like Penrose and Hammeroff, they have that idea of OR, the quantum consciousness. Shout out Eric. We'll talk to you in a minute here. But the idea that the anesthesiologists have this just a way to shut off consciousness, and then they do all kinds of like miraculous surgery and stuff. Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like maybe you kind of like just turned it off, like click, the switch went, and that was that. I don't know. Weird.
I don't know. It was like that. I have no idea. I was like 5 years old, but after that, like my mom went. I remember hearing like all the time growing up, like they had to resuscitate her. She died. Da 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 da. I remember just hearing that, like when she was talking to like my aunts and stuff like that. And so I was like, oh, I guess I died or something. You know what I mean?
Welcome back. Glad to have you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
good night.
I can chuckle about it now because you're here, but this is not funny.
I don't know.
It's not funny. Yeah, I appreciate
But
you
I
sharing
didn't
the
see a
experience.
tunnel or anything.
No tunnel, no light. It
Maybe
was sort of
next
more of like a darkness. No, we're not going to do any.
Maybe I have
any
to
more.
be there longer.
No more. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe I have to be there a while.
Maybe, but
I don't know.
or maybe it needs to be more acute or whatever, right? But no more NDEs,
Or
okay?
severe death.
Just stay here with us. No more NDEs, all right?
Agree. I
Same,
agree.
same. Yeah.
You're the
Have a
best.
good night.
Appreciate the call, Jen. You know where you love her. That's Jen in Missouri, the Arcane Observer. Please go give her a follow. troubledminds.org/friends. Super easy. Scroll down. It's under J. Go follow her YouTube channel. She's repurposing some things and going to relaunch a bunch of stuff. Wink, wink. Yeah, you're going to do it, Jen. Follow Jennifer right there. Click it right in the middle of the screen. Or just scroll down. It's alphabetical. And please go give her a follow. The Arcane Observer is where you will find her. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. See, I got the new number memorized. Watch. They're going to fix the old number, and it's going to dick me up forever. Eric in Ohio, what's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
Gosh, here we are at the crux of DMT and NDE and all of these things like OR.
Right, I figured I'd invoke it. I saw you with your hand up there. OR. Go look it up. Quantum consciousness is the way I always termed it. I didn't know there was an actual scientific term. But what you got for us? Go right ahead. Welcome to the thing.
Well, gee, I don't know where to start. I think in the last 9 years, I've read about 8 white papers on the correlation between DMT and near-death experiences. And what I find fascinating about it is the base ideas that people have, and when they start off having either their near-death experience or their DMT experience, they're talking about seeing relatives and people they know and loved ones and things that are close to them in this life. And as they travel toward that light, they realize at some point that the people that they thought were people that they knew, their grandparents or aunts or even pets in some cases, are actually some kind of a different aspect of themselves. They realize that either this is an aspect of themselves or they have completely blended with that entity to the point where they can't distinguish the difference. And at that point, which is like the second phase, and the third phase, they come to the place, the source. Some describe it as a city, some describe it as math, some describe it as God, some describe it as love. But they all agree that it's the source, that it's the energy from which everything emanates. And they describe being in this place as very much in nonlinear time, like, in other words, there's no past, no future. Everything happens at the same time. So being in that state precludes the need to talk or ask questions, because there is, or to do anything that would be in a state of chance, like roll dice, for instance. There's no need for that because there isn't no future with an unknown outcome. Everything happens right in the moment. If anybody's watched Star Trek Deep Space Nine, it's kind of what they're trying to portray when they go into the wormhole and they talk to those beings that exist outside of linear time. Being in linear time means that the veil is over you. You do not know what's going to happen in the future. There are so many vectors that preclude what will happen that you don't know. So it's a completely different experience with nonlinear time. And if you go and you pull the Book of the Dead, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, off of your bookshelf, like we're all want to do, and you ask it, how long does it take for a soul to reincarnate into a body? And it will tell you 49.
I was going to say 48 days, right? Am I wrong?
49. That's
something
what
like that. Yeah.
49.
Somewhere in that. Yeah. Like there's an actual answer, which is wild.
Yeah. And so one of the cruxes of what we're talking about is a book called DMT, The Spirit Molecule, which is by a guy named Dr. Rick Strassman. And there's also a really cool documentary of the same name, free on YouTube, if you want to go and YouTube it, DMT, The Spirit Molecule. And but this guy who wrote this book, He's the guy that has that 49th day of gestation, which is when the pineal gland forms in the brain. And the pineal gland was theorized to produce DMT, which he calls the spirit molecule. And so he has correlated that with the Tibetan Book of the Dead to say that this is the time at which a body is formed enough that a soul can inhabit it, or an entity can inhabit it. So, because you got to build it to a certain specification before, okay, it's ready. You can go and move in now.
The homunculus has arrived.
Yeah. There, you can inhabit this now. We've sewn it all together. Gosh, homunculus, that's back to Jewish lore and the Kabbalah. Interesting. Anyway, I think I heard Matt Zhao talk about Dr. Ian Stevenson, who had probably one of the most famous people who's done research on children out of the University of Virginia. He studied over 2,500 cases of children who had claimed to remember previous lives. And one of his main focal points for proof was birthmarks on their body that denoted how they had died in some way, or the wound that they had received that ended their life. And I think I remember catching the end of Matt Isles' phone conversation, and he was saying to see for birthmarks. And I wondered if he was talking about Dr. Ian Stevenson.
He was actually. So I brought that up, and then he tacked into it and actually had like an experience that kind of correlated with it. But yeah, like I've done shows in the past on him. If it's Ian, I always say Ian, but Dr. We'll just say Dr. Stevenson. And like if you go, like I said, if you guys have never heard of this guy, just search Dr. Stevenson, reincarnation, and go read the stuff this dude did. It is mind blowing. Like if you're a materialist and you're like, this is all nonsense, go read this stuff and you'll be like, holy crap. Like what is going on with this? Because like kids are creative, but not that creative. Like it's like they could not possibly know some of these things. So I don't know. But yeah, you're definitely in the right game, because that's what we're talking about tonight.
There was one child that they had researched that said that he was describing being in an airplane in World War II and being shot down and crashing in the Pacific. And on the way down, he was telling the numbers and letters that he's seen on the side of ships and on the side of his plane as he went down, all of which were verified to be actual ships and planes that participated in the war at that time, and was on record and stuff. And there's very, very slim chance that this kid knew any of that at his age, which was around 4 or 5 years old.
Not only that, pre-internet, where you couldn't even just have like an AI spit it out to you. Like you would need like a dictionary times 100 to even like know all this to put together a compelling tale. And these kids are just spitting it out.
Late 80s, early 90s. So none of that. The reason his parents even brought him in was because he went from a child, was waking up in the middle of the night screaming. And once he got old enough to articulate what was going on, he was telling them that he was having nightmares of burning alive and stuff. And so they took him to the doctor, like, what's wrong with my kid? And through this process, they were able to ascertain that he was having this reoccurring dream every night of his prior death. And eventually it faded away. And the theory was that when you're born, every part of your brain is lit up in terms of the usage of what it does. But as you get older, you start learning to focus and deal with this linear time stream, and your brain goes from like a lantern to a spotlight. Like whatever part of the brain you're using is the part that's active and the other parts are not, which is not how it is when you're first born. It's like the whole thing is active because it's still developing. And so they theorized that there's a small interbellum period where you can still ascertain the life that you used to live, or the feelings from that death, if it was violent.
And the birthmarks. Shout out Matzel. Like, that's a weird thing too. Like, all of that is just so incredibly strange how it all comes together. Like I said, and look, just because things make some sense, sort of, as I like to say, squint with your mind's eye, doesn't mean it's the truth or reality, okay? And just a reminder, there's no truth here. But you recognize that there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of this data, a lot of science that's been done that kind of makes you, makes your tinfoil tingle, as I like to say. And that's what we're on about. What else you got? Go ahead, sir.
Some of those kids that they had tested, the 2,500 cases that they have on file, had mentioned, like 5 or 6 had mentioned that they had, in fact, selected who their parents would be.
Shout out to Robert. The reincarnation cycles and choosing whether you come back or not. Robert has talked about that quite a lot.
Yeah. And I think that when you consider the alternative, which is the way people have described in their near-death experiences and DMT experiences about reaching the source and what it's like when you're there, this sort of timeless situation where if me and you were there, you're me and I'm you, and there's no difference between us, and there's nothing I don't understand or grok about you, and vice versa. So there's no reason to communicate. In fact, you're kind of like a big gestalted entity that understands itself but has no reason to talk to itself in a timeless state where you're never aging and never progressing or regressing. And so in a weird way, man, that state is a very unanchored state, right? There's no way to add or deplete that state unless you choose to go back into a situation where it's a linear time and you have the veil put over you and you don't know what the future holds, and you fight against it, and you fight against chance and circumstances, the slings and arrows of misfortune, if you will.
Outrageous fortune.
Yeah, outrageous slings and arrows of misfortune. In fact, that one got me right in the nards. God dog it.
Exactly. I got one from my grandpa real quick. I shot an arrow into the air. It fell to earth. I know not where. Hark, I hear my neighbor swear. It must have landed there.
Exactly. So, it's almost as if the only way that the source can grow is by extending itself into a situation that hones it by the fact that you don't know what the future holds, and that the end result of a life is an addition and a growth to the afterlife. And so there's this weird symbiotic, more than cyclic situation that's going on. And I would imagine at some point, which is a pointless statement to make at some point in such a nonlinear scenario, but at some point in that situation, you might get bored. You might decide to go back to this place and have a life and not know how long you're going to live and not know what your fortunes are going to be. And you might say, yeah, I'll do that again, man. But who knows? That's all I got.
No. Who knows? You're the best. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for popping in here. And thanks for being you. Pleasure as always. And fire stuff. I think at some point, like I said, it's weird to me that, we've covered so many things in the past that we have new friends kind of join the fray and stuff with maybe new perspectives. I think Dr. Stevenson needs to be revisited here because there's so much to it. Like I said, if you dig deep into that, like I said, if you're a materialist, dig deep into Dr. Stevenson. Search it yourself. I don't have the links in the description because it wasn't part of the purview tonight. Really, it was sort of in the periphery. But Dr. Stevenson, reincarnation. And then go read directly with your own eyeballs the studies, and then get back to me because I'm telling you, there's something weird. There's something weird going on. Eric, you're the best. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for staying up late with us. Thanks for popping in here, and always a pleasure. You have a great night.
You too, sir. Thanks.
Take care. That's Eric, the official. He wanted me to call him a derogatory term. He wanted me to call him something terrible. The official terrible of Troubled Minds, but he's not. He's a very smart guy. Very dear friend. And hey, look, this is what this is about. It's about meeting people. It's about talking about ideas. It's about considering where we're right and where we're wrong. Yeah. James, thanks for being patient, my man. The glue of the show, et cetera, so on. You are incredible. What else you got? And then let's wrap this up.
Oh, just great calls from everyone. Yeah. The part of that fascinating thing to all this is, I've heard so much about people's experiences with whether it's even outside of the whole near-death and or reincarnation thing, where when they encounter other beings, other basically consciousness that seem to exist in a field of energy. Those beings do not always perceive time the same way we do. It seems like Eric was talking about there, when you're not in a physical state, or at least certain physical states, time is not the same as it is when you are in other states of being. Whatever those may be, however that works, I don't know. But that's a fascinating thing I've heard over and over again when it comes to anomalous reports of paranormal activity and just encounters with other beings that will even ask, what is the day, or what is the time, or what is the year. So you hear some of that in UFO encounters, alien encounters. But yeah, thanks for having me on as always, and looking forward to next time.
Thanks for being here. And Slay stuff on the other stuff too. Shout out Ricky, Ray K. There was somebody else there. Who was it? Can you tell me who that was, James? You know who it was? There was a fourth person.
It was Olga. She was there. She didn't say much this time, but she was there for the beginning, and then just I think mainly listened this time. But yeah, she was there as well.
Yeah, Slay stuff. Go if you haven't followed Ricky, anything is possible. He's slaying it, all kinds of stuff. He does Sunday nights with James and sort of the beyond the possible paranormal type stuff, like kind of like we do here, but he streams several times during the week, and he does more grounded stuff too. Like he talks politics and some other things. So if you haven't followed Ricky, you're doing yourself a disservice. Anything is possible is the name of the podcast. Links in the description, of course, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Ricky. Just click that and you'll find all the places you can find Ricky. Please go follow him. And the point is to just get together and talk about ideas and sort of grow networks and be kind to each other, right? Like I said, it seems novel, but it's not. I mean, it's not. it's really not. But here we are doing it. There we go. We got I see you, Daniel. We're reading your chat. Welcome to the thing. Thank you for the call. You are now part of the Discord, so which means you can call on Discord next time too. So if you want to do that, well, and just a reminder too, if you guys are new to Discord, we've had so many people go through the learning curve of how to sort of handle it, how to use it, all the stuff, the rules and whatnot. So just ask in the general chat. Hey guys, I'm new, and how do I do this? How do I do that? I promise you, people will help. So you don't have to just rely on me, because we've had literally let's shout out Derek. Derek the Nice Talker was like, you trained us on Discord. Yeah, kind of, right? Like accidentally. But yeah, so just ask for help if you need help in Discord, how to use it, and we will do our best to help you out. That's that. Let's click the button and do the thing. Let's get the hell out of here. Look, sorry about the camera. It broke. I don't know what happened. Like my USB hub, I guess I overloaded it or something. I don't know. My keyboard stopped working for a moment. There was, I don't know. Always something breaking. I need like an industrial server rack over here or something. Anyway, look, as we finish, don't forget, this is a conversation. This is, look, I like to call this the great conversation, because we tackle a lot of things that are nonlinear, open-ended, and we can leave tonight without a conclusion. That's it. That's the point. Everything doesn't have to have a nice, tidy conclusion of yes or no, or left or right, or blue or red, or whatever. That's it. It's very simple. Except, right, in a mass media world where everything has to have a conclusion and tell you exactly why things are happening, it seems like we're the heretics. Yeah, that's not the case. I promise you that. Anyway, if you want to help us help our friends, look, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. There's so many just amazing people to make this show go. And look, I promise you, this is also not an in club. This is an out club. This is everybody. This is Big Ten conspiracy. This is independent thinkers coming together, wondering what the hell's actually going on out there. That's it. Look at this wall of people. Okay. And if you're like, I should be on that list, you're right. You should be. So let me know. You help us 1 iota, you're on this list. Help us a little bit. Spread the word. Let people know what conversation is happening, but we're not going to tell you to vote for. We're going to talk about the mysterious aspects of the entire multiverse, etc., so on. And we're going to do it in a respectful way. We're going to have fun together. And that's it. It's very simple. Spread the word. Get on this list. Come say hi. Come meet these amazing people. And look, I say this a lot. Like, I don't consider myself a draconian, speak when I say speak type of guy, but it does come off that way because we have radio clocks and, you know, breaks coming up, and so I cut people off, and I look, it's not like that. The people you hear on this show, it's all unscripted. I don't know who's going to call. I don't know who's going to be here. This is because people are interested. People care. Okay? So please go follow them and give them the respect they're due. And also, I apologize for cutting people off and stuff because of time restraints and whatever. So my point is the people that are here as part of this are way more awesome than they even seem, even though they're super, super awesome as part of this. If you want to help us directly, like I said, spread the word. Let people know conversations happening, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. This is going to be some other thing. We're going to talk about all the ideas on the fringe of human consciousness, UFOs, all the things that you would expect from a weird space, a weird mind space, and that's okay. That's it. TroubledFans.com, TroubledMinds.org. Go check out the radio show, of course, and all the rest of our friends on KUAPDB.com. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. This one goes out to Daniel, our new friend, the Michiganer. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Oh my goodness, all my buttons are broken, so what do I do now? Oh no. There you go, that one.